Everyone, welcome to English 210 Introduction to Literature. I hope you enjoy the course. In this class, we will be learning some of the vocabulary that is used when interpreting literature. We'll also learn about the different forms of literature, how to cite them, as well as enjoying discussing some of the works of literature in our discussions. So let's go ahead and click on content. That's where the bulk of the work for this class will be. And in this class, I want you to start with the course overview. This is going to give you a good idea of some of the expectations for this course. The main part of this section, though, is that I want you to read through the syllabus because I want you to have a good idea of what the readings are for this class, what the expectations are for this class, and some of the assignments that you'll be assigned in this course. Also take note of the late penalty. Your professor for this course may allow you some flexibility, but often it works best if you contact your instructor prior to the need for an extension. This just gives you some information about how to access some of the important facets of this course. Note the discussion participation guidelines. In this course, your first responses will be due on Thursday, and then your two classmate responses will be due on Sunday. Now, when you reply to your classmates, the expectation is for you to give constructive responses. That is, you're going to read your classmates' discussion and give some interesting critical feedback. And when I say critical feedback, it's thought-provoking feedback, not criticism. Both the responses and the initial posts are worth 50%. So it really is important for you to put some work into the responses. This week, you do have a welcome discussion to complete. There are two components of the welcome discussion. One is a response to the reading that you were assigned, and I'm going to get into that in a little bit. But note that during the first week, the discussions are due, both the initial and the responses are due on Sunday and not Thursday. As always, if you have any questions about the course, please post in the Q&A discussion or send your instructor a message or an email. And congratulations, you're done with the first section. So let's move on to the actual lesson for this week. It's the introduction lesson, and this basically gives you an introduction to some of the course materials and how to approach a work of literature. Mainly, we're going to be focusing on short stories, which is the first section of the course. So let's go ahead and launch the unit. I expect you, or your instructor expects you to read the entire introduction. And then what's important is this. The expectation is for you to, at the very least, read the story that you're assigned and then make sure to demonstrate that you have read the stories of the classmates you are responding to. So you're going to be reading at least 3 stories. Then I do want you to read through the elements of fiction, interpreting fiction, writing a short story essay, which will be your assignment due next week. Review some of the information in the grammar book. Obviously, some of you have taken College 110 or English 110 or English 101. So grammar was covered in those courses. But in any case, I still would like for you, and your instructor would still like for you to review those sections. Also, make sure to review through MLA citations, but we'll be covering citations throughout this course, defining literature and how to analyze short stories. Now note, these right here are very short. They're not long readings. And also, the short stories should not be that long either. Now think of the word short. It's an entire story that's compacted in one specific and edited as a story. So a short story should not be long, and none of these are actually very long at all. All right, so what you're going to do, obviously, is you're going to go through the lesson, but I did want to point out some interesting components. First, there's a lot of areas where you have to click through, and all of that information, you need to click through all of it because all of that information is necessary for you to understand the assignments in this course. I also do want you to watch this little video, and we'll just pull it. It's like it says there, Silly Symphony. And it's basically a very simplistic version of the components within a short story essay. Using that little introductory video, we're going to go through some of the vocabulary that we generally see in short stories. So what you're going to do is you're going to listen to that little video, then you're going to understand what the vocabulary is, and then you're going to go through and you're going to see how that vocabulary works with that little video. Make sure to understand each of these as well. And then you're going to use Rip Van Winkle. And it would help if you actually read the story. But even if you didn't read the story, I'm sure some of you are familiar with it. So what this lesson does is show how these specific vocabulary terms are used within that story. Obviously, character and setting are quite important components of short stories. So make sure to read through this section. It shows you within that sample video what the protagonists are within both Rip Van Winkle and the Tortoise and the Hare and the setting. And it shows you why these two components are very important in terms of understanding that particular short story. Now, this is something that's important to understand. These are the components of a short story. Most short stories starts with an exposition. That means the preliminary information that you need to understand what is going on. Sometimes the exposition is quite long, but in short stories, generally it's just a paragraph or two. Then the action occurs, and you can see this rising throughout the short story. So, for example, let's go back to the tortoise and the hare. The exposition is that we learn that the tortoise is quite impatient and quick, and not the tortoise. The hare is quite impatient and quick, whereas the tortoise is slow and steady, right? And so that's the exposition. Now we're going to go into the rising action. So the tortoise and the hare engage in a race, and they're trying to figure out who the winner is. And of course, the hare goes quick, 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 whereas the tortoise is going slow and slow and slow until we build into the climax. Now, the climax is the pinnacle of the action, and this occurs when something happens and the tortoise, and this would be the following action, the tortoise actually pulls ahead from the hare. And then at the end, we get the resolution, which is when the tortoise wins. So this generally explains to you what the typical components of a short story are. And you'll see this breakdown in most, if not all, of the short stories you will be assigned this week. So I hope that gives you some idea of what the expectations are for this first week. But let's look at the activities and assessments. Like I said before, you need to complete the welcome discussion. And right here it says something that's called the ENGL210 Short Story Assignment Quiz. So what you're going to do is you're going to take this quiz, and it should be right here. You click on the quiz, and then you are going to be assigned a short story. A short story is going to pop up. So you will have to read that short story, and remember what that short story is when it pops up. You can return to it later so you can see what it is. But just in case, remember what that short story is, then click back on the content, right? So we're going to go back to the content. We're going to launch the unit again. And then we're going to go through and decide and try to find the short story that we were assigned. And you'll find that in the reading and resources section of the classroom. So let's say you were assigned the story of an hour. So then you'll just pull it up in there and you should be good to go. All right. I know it seems to be a lot, but honestly, it's not too hard this first week. But of course, if you have any questions at all, please post in the open forum. Your instructor will be more than happy to help you, or send your instructor a message or an email. We all hope that you enjoy the class, and all of us in the English Literature Department wish you the best of luck for this semester.